Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm Grace Holland. It's been more than a month since state leaders passed a bill to ban a drug known by critics as gas station heroin, and it's still on the shelves. Tianeptine is used as an antidepressant in other countries, but it's not approved for medical use in the United States, and it can have deadly consequences. WRAL health reporter Grace Hayba looked into how this drug is still on the shelves in our state and joins me to talk about her investigation. Grace, thanks for being here.
Of course. Happy to be here.
So catch up our listeners on what this drug is and what is so dangerous about it.
Yeah, so as you just mentioned, this is something that I've been covering personally for months. I think the first story I did on it was early to mid-January, and that was really when we had started hearing from people about it. There were a couple stories elsewhere from other states that I had seen about it too. I think there's 9 states now that have banned it. And so we were kind of like, what is this? You know, it's being, there was alerts from the FDA, consumer warnings being put out about it, but there was not a ton actually known about tianeptine. And so when we started looking into it, it is a substance that is not regulated by the FDA. So it is illegal here in the U.S., but at the same time, there's no actual federal ban written against it. So therefore, there really is nothing stopping manufacturers from making it and then putting it on shelves. And that's exactly what was happening. So all around the country, law enforcement agencies, EMS, they started responding to these overdoses. Then CDC, FDA started putting out consumer warnings about these products. And now we're kind of in the situation where we are now, where again, with no federal ban, it's up to each state to now regulate it and to pass laws banning the sale of it. And that's what just happened here in North Carolina in early July. Governor Cooper finally signed that ban, and it went into effect. Well, it will go into effect, rather, in December. So it has not yet gone into effect, and now we're kind of in this waiting period. But for the drug itself, what really makes it so dangerous is it can be highly addictive, and it is known for having opioid-like properties. Mm-hmm. The other issue, going back to it not being regulated by the FDA, means you don't know manufacturer to manufacturer how much of this drug is in each bottle. So different products, like there's one called Zaza, there's one called Pegasus, there's Neptune's Fix, there's a whole brand, or a whole bunch of different brands that sell this, and each of them could really be putting a different amount in there. And so essentially what we've heard from people who have unfortunately lost loved ones, and in speaking with pharmacists and others who have really pushed to get these products pulled from shelves, is that is likely a contributing factor to these overdoses, is individuals have no idea how much of what they're taking. They just don't know. It's not on the bottles. It's you don't know. And that's really where the scary nature of this drug lies, is that it's just sitting there on plain shelves, really for anyone to walk in and buy, and you have no idea what's in it.
Right. And you found a really personal story with this, a woman named Carrie Womack who lost her husband to this drug recently. How did you meet her, and what did she tell you about what happened?
Yeah, so it's really interesting with Carrie because she actually found us. She is in Stanley County, which obviously we do a lot of Wake County stories, a lot of Orange and Durham County stories, and she's down in Stanley, which would technically be Charlotte DMA, and really out of our viewership. But right after her husband passed away, she said she was talking with her family members about it, and her mom kind of directed her toward our reporting because we were really one of the only places talking about this in North Carolina. And so that's how she reached out and got a hold of me, left me a voicemail, and said, this just happened to my family. Like, we can't believe it. And I had no idea that this product was out there. And she told me if there's one good thing that she wants to come out of her husband's passing is to spread awareness so that others don't have to go through what they're currently dealing with right now.
Right. And do you have a sense of how much this is happening in our state since that bill was passed?
It's difficult to say. Right now, for example, in Carrie's situation, she is still awaiting the official results of her husband's autopsy as we sit down to speak. And, so I can't exactly say, how many people for sure that this is happening to, but, and speaking with State Representative Stephen Ross, he's among those from Alamance County and state leaders who have really pushed to get these products pulled from shelves.
Yeah, I actually had a family contact me from Winston-Salem um, just within the last week with the exact same story I've heard from other families around the state. Family member busted up his family, had kids, got addicted to Tianeptine, and another tragedy. And they did not know that the law had changed. If I had my way in the beginning, I would have banned it instantly.
It probably is happening more often, honestly, than we are even aware of it, and maybe even that family members are aware of it.
All right, let's take a quick break right there and we'll be right back. Grace, in your story, you went around to some of these stores that sell this drug. So walk me through that process of going to these stores and what you saw.
Yeah, we really had this question of, okay, it's been passed. All right, well, now Cooper is signed on the dotted line, but what does that mean? If this ban technically, or this law rather, and this ban doesn't go into effect until December 1st, what in the world are these stores doing right now, right? And I had been in stores before, found it, purchased it, and I was wondering, could I still do that now? Even though since then, since the first time I bought it, we've done extensive reporting on it. It's been brought up now, from lawmakers, and now we have this official law being passed and signed. Could you still find it? And the answer is yes. And not just at one place, you can find it at multiple places. So I kind of went through a little bit of a journey and took viewers on this journey with me visually as well. And I just got in my car and drove around Wake County. The first store that I went to, they said that they never sold those kind of products, and they were really just vape oriented, and they didn't have like the dietary supplements that these kind of products are traditionally marketed as. The second place that I went to said that they did used to sell Tianeptine, and they specifically sold the brand Neptune's Fix, which was one that I had previously been able to buy elsewhere. And they said that they had actually pulled it from shelves because of the multiple FDA consumer warnings that had gone out about it. And so that was, an indicator that, okay, people are hearing this, people are getting the message. Because again, right now, they legally aren't required to pull it from shelves just yet. So this was a company, Neptune's Fix, one of the manufacturers, had issued their own voluntary recall. And so these stores then were able to pull it from shelves from there. But then the third store that I went to, they didn't have Neptune's Fix, but they did have I think there were 5 different kinds of Tianeptine products, 3 of which were branded as Zaza. There's Zaza Red, Zaza White, and I think Zaza Silver were the ones that they had. And then there were 2 other types right next to them as well. All of them at this specific location were specifically the pill forms because it can be sold as an elixir and a pill and a powder. So there's several different types that you can find and look for. So these ones were all just clear as day right there. And at none of these places, too, the biggest thing that really stuck out to me was not only can I find it, but not a single time was I ever asked for any proof of identification, any age verification. Yeah, and I mean, you know me, and viewers, if you don't know what I look like, I'll be the first to say it. I don't look that old. I am in my upper 20s, but I still regularly get carded if I, go to the pharmacy and get cough medicine or order a drink at dinner or anything like that. I'm ready to pull out my ID,
Right. And a lot of places now will do it no matter what you look like.
Exactly, right? Exactly. And so I was ready, and I obviously had it with me, and not a single time. I think I've been into 6 stores looking for it. Not a single time when I walked into these stores, when I asked for it from an employee, and then definitely not the 3 times now that I've actually purchased these products. None of those times was I ever asked for my ID, and I think that really underscores why those who are so adamant about getting these products pulled from shelves are so concerned that they really could end up in the hands of anyone at any age, because,
Yeah.
the common rebuttal to that is, well, they're sold in vape shops, right? They're supposed to be verifying your age. There's signs on the doors that say these sales cannot, tobacco sales, for example, and things like that cannot happen to for underage individuals. But yet, I feel like I'm sitting here as living proof that they're not checking, and I think that is why those are really concerned that this could end up in the hands of minors.
What can be done between now and December? I know you mentioned that there is sort of some voluntary recalls. There's a little bit of a spotty account being taken for the companies themselves and things like that. And obviously there isn't a federal ban. So what can be done by just consumers and just anyone between now and then?
So it really lies in the hands of each of these individual stores right now. Until December 1st and until that law goes into effect, there is not much. Actually, there's nothing, legally that could be done to these stores here in North Carolina just because of the way that this law was written. With that, we have reached out to a store here in Wake County and multiple manufacturers. None of them have ever gotten back to us. So it's really unclear, when these stores are going to pull them from shelves, if manufacturers are going to stop producing it. And the harsh reality is likely not. Representative Stephen Ross was telling me, it was really hard for him to get people to say, yes, I'm going to pull it from shelves.
Because as I went around and made some visitations of some of the places where you can find this, I told them, talk to the managers running the stores. I said, you understand this stuff is like heroin, and it's addictive, and it's hurting people. It's putting them in the hospital. It's busting up families. And a lot of them just said, as long as it's legal, I'm going to sell it.
And in talking with Carrie Womack, she also had still been able to find this drug in the same shop where her husband had gone and bought it after he died. And she showed it to them and told them, this is what I believe my husband took, and this is why he's no longer with me. Are you even aware? And she kind of was met with similar answers. And it was, she said that she didn't even think that the employees were aware of what they were selling, and I think that kind of was my same experience as well when I was asking people for it. Some were aware of it, some had no idea. And even the ones who knew, like, yes, we sell it, it wasn't immediately clear that they knew what it was that they were selling. They just knew that it was another product on their shelves, that they were handing over. So the reality of what can be done between now and when the law goes into effect is really awareness and making sure people do know that these products are out there, that they are being handed over to people without verifying their age at all. And you don't know how much is in each product. And if you take enough, we have seen that it does have deadly consequences. And that's the concerning part about all of this, and the fact that if it does have opioid-like properties, you can become addicted to it as well. So this is something that could then spark a lifetime of recovery and substance abuse issues for someone.
Right. And there may be some people who listen to this who say, okay, yeah, that's a problem between now and December, but does some of this fix itself, I guess, once the law or the ban rather goes into place?
Yeah, Representative Stephen Ross talked a bit about this with me, and he said that between now and then, what's happening is ALE, who's involved with the enforcement of drug and tobacco rules here in North Carolina, are to be going around to these drugstores, vape shops, convenience stores, and notifying them, hey, by December 1st, these products need to be pulled from shelves. So the hope is, that these stores, if they aren't aware, or even if they are aware, simply hearing that will, lead to these products, again, being off shelves at the latest by December 1st, if not before then. The reality, though, is Ross said that he does think that there will probably be instances where it does remain on shelves. And who knows how long it's going to take to find out where those stores are. Is anyone going to come forward and say, hey, this is still being sold here? That's to be determined. As of December 2nd, we'll see. I might be back here, saying how many calls we've gotten about it. But when that happens, at least then there will be a law in place and an actual action that can happen for these stores who are caught in violation of this. But it's something that he said he hopes the discussion around involving not just tianeptine, but other drugs, xylazine, for example, is one that I have also reported on and has been brought up at the state level as well now. And he said that actions around that is where he thinks things are headed to next, and just discussions in general about how to, A, be aware of what's out there, but then B, really getting these laws passed sooner to get them off shelves as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking to us about all this, Grace, and staying on this. It sounds like it's a big investigation that we'll continue to cover. Thank you for listening to the WRAL Daily Download. Another great way to get WRAL news is the Morning Briefing newsletter. It's a daily email that's waiting in your inbox every morning with local news, events, and headlines to get you ready for the day. Sign up at WRAL.com/newsletter.